when we're in it, we think this is the worst time and this is really something very terrible happening to me. And looking back, it was what absolutely had to happen. It was my liberation. Even the woman, that I saw her later in the street, who attacked me. I was actually standing behind her in the grocery line. She was in front of me, like just one person between us. And I was able to say thank you.
Welcome to Conversation for the Soul. I'm Linda Christine. Today I talk with Liv, who also goes by Aloha Ke Akua. Liv has a beautiful, courageous, vulnerable, and authentic story to share of her awakening today. She goes through the many phases of it, her struggle with depression and bipolar disorder. It really is a beautiful, heartfelt story from a deeply compassionate and vulnerable place. And I think you're going to find it very interesting. So we will get started with today's podcast with Liv. And also, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. That way, beautiful stories such as Liv's can be shared as beautiful acknowledgments of how we all have challenges to go through in our lives and how we can possibly overcome them. So here we go with Liv.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, welcome, Liv. I'm so glad to have you here today. We worked hard to set this up, didn't we?
Yeah.
It is so beautiful, so beautiful. We got quite a little bit of a time difference. You are located in what country?
And I'm like in Midwest Germany.
Okay. I think we figured it was a 7-hour time difference.
I think 6.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I appreciate you being here.
Oh, I thank you, Linda. It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah. So let's start with how did you end up on this spiritual path? Did you have an awakening, multiple awakenings? Did you come in, raring to go? How did it unfold for you?
Okay. I didn't have an awakening. And I always wanted to, because you hear the people, talk about their awakenings. And I'm like, I never had one of those. I want one of those, And, but I think that, there was always something that stayed awake. There was something that was there that was awake, and it's been a gradual because first it was in the childhood, through the conditioning, the light got like condensed until it was like almost, how should I say, well, I was like really, really depressed since I was 11 years old. Like I had phases of like really, really heavy depression that came for 35 years always, and bipolar and OCD. And that was like, there was so much dark. I almost died after like 3 days after birth. And I was told by a psychic that, and that totally resonated, is that it was like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into, kind of thing, like, and I wanted out. It was a shock. And so it was like, it came to a place where I didn't want to live anymore, where it was just too much. And that was like when I was 11. And then it was this bipolar, where it was the dark and then the light, because that was still there too, the soul is strong, the soul is strong. There's something there, there's a light there, there's a knowing. And that was always like, for example, when I was 6 years old, I did a lot of contemplation already, and I asked my mom about, well, what about life on other, how big is the universe? Infinite. And then I thought about that, and I knew there was, I realized, yeah, there has to be life on other planets. And I asked her, and she said no, and I knew that's not true. And she explained to me, they, all the scientists, they looked and there's nothing out there, and I just knew, no, that's not true. And then I thought about it, and I knew I will meet them. I knew one day we will meet. And so that was 6 years old. And so, like, and the nature, connection to animals, like, I loved being alone in nature. I was like the happiest then. So that was all there. And then also later, the seeking, the spiritual seeking, immediately, pretty much after childhood, it was there. It started. Yeah. And there were no, in that sense, awakenings, but I was, because of the heavy depression, I was always looking to break free of that. So, and I was always looking for a breakthrough, there has to be a breakthrough there. And then there were like milestones. Like, one of them was after I finished master's degree at university, that was also like torture, basically, going through that, but it was the conditioning. Because the time that I had to make a decision when I was 18, okay, well, now what do you want to do with your life? It was that decision you had to make when you were just 18, so young, and I couldn't make a decision. I couldn't choose just one path. And but I knew I can't start working now either. There's so much more I want to do. So I decided because I was good in writing. So I decided, okay, journalism. And that's why I then thought, in order to be a journalist, travel the world. And I already knew then, I already felt, because I already had this like mission or intention, I already felt there's the way that they are portraying the world, it's not how it really is. And I wanted to, so then travel the world. And then it was always, for me, it was about synchronicity. Was it synchronicity? No, what's the other word? Where everything comes together to show, anyways, doesn't matter. But I saw that, connecting the dots and then showing that what they are portraying, the way that they say, like, for example, because I studied political sciences and so forth. And already with 18, I knew, watching the news, that's not why this war is happening, and I traveled a lot since I was small, and I saw the people, and I always knew, I felt the people are good. They don't want war, anyways. So that was the idea. And everything changed. So when I was done with the master's degree and the studies, I had so for so many years, the whole schooling, and then the university, that was my whole youth. I spent in the dungeons making copies, reading stacks of books that were not, I had no interest in. It was yeah. And then it was like, okay, now that I did this, I want to what is it called? Reward myself. Yes. And so I worked very hard, and I saved all my money, and to fulfill my life stream at that point, my life stream was to swim with dolphins in the wild. I always loved the whales. And the dolphins. And So I found out, it just fell in my lap. Joan Ocean, she's in Hawaii swimming with the, or it was at the time. No, she's still there, but swimming with the wild dolphins. And when that article, it was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And then that's what I did. So I was like finished okay, I'll say this. The last test so that I would get the degree was finished. I came back to my room and I had, in 1 week, there was the ticket I was going, no? And in that time, and it was like, oh, and I had like for the whole time, because you have a year and a half where you have to go through all these, it's the test period, and I had like a thick crust of like, that was, anyways, I don't want to get into the detail of it, but a really thick crust over my heart in the front and the back. It was there for almost 2 years. And the morning after the last test, gone. And there was nothing I could do about it. Like I was putting cortisone, nothing would help, right? But the next morning it was gone, and there was not a sign of it, because you would think something like that, you would think, oh, at least there's a scar or something. It was
so
gone.
It was physical. It wasn't like
yes,
etheric or something.
No,
it was a physical.
I mean, that's why I didn't want to go into detail. It was thick, like really bad,
wow.
Bleeding and everything. Yeah. But how that could be gone, that was a miracle. Yeah. And then also in that time, right before I was leaving, I had these little windows, and here they open this way, and a little bird had flown in my room, and I knew. And first of all, how did it would be difficult for a bird to get in. Yeah. So it wasn't like the window was open, and I knew it was my soul saying, freedom, freedom. I knew it. It was, and then so something definitely changed when I then was in the waters with the dolphins, and I was like, oh my God, what was I doing all these years? This is, I just want to be here. This is where all I want to do for the rest of my life. And up until that time, I still had the career ideas, like I want to be a journalist and stuff. The moment I was there, it was gone. It was all gone. Yeah. And then my life completely changed. Yeah. So that was like one of those milestones. Yeah. And
now what happened when you swam with the dolphins? Did they communicate with you? Did you get any information from them?
Well, here's the thing. I wasn't ready yet. So there was this moment where because these are wild dolphins, they don't come that close, actually. Yeah. But there was a moment where I was the first one off the boat, and they swam right up to me. And that was the moment, like, okay, here's my dream of my life coming true in this moment. And what happened, because I was so excited, I choked. And so I had to come up and cough. And then they were gone, and that was it. They were gone. But it's because I wasn't ready yet. Still too much density and divide within me. So it's like I couldn't contain it. I can't. And there's like a lot more work to do. This is a long time ago. Yeah.
So what were some of the bigger jobs that you completed in the work that you had to do? And then did you go back and see the dolphins again?
No, not yet, but I know it will happen. That's, yeah. The bigger jobs. Well, okay, let me see.
I mean, we all have so much work to do all the time, but maybe there's something, that would be helpful to somebody else that's
Oh,
listening to
absolutely.
this.
Absolutely. That's why that's why we're sharing this. Yes, yes, yes. So it was all about reconnecting with soul, because the conditioning had conditioned it, the matrix here, the inverted matrix that we're born into, it conditions the soul out, like us away from it. And also, I had inverted so much that there was a lot of self-hate, and that's also why why the depression was so heavy. So it was a lot of self-hate, and so I needed to. So also, yes, this is okay. So you see, nothing worked out. Everything that I wanted to do, that I thought I wanted to do with my life, nothing worked out. No, I couldn't, like, I didn't have a relationship. I couldn't be have a work like that was meaningful, and I was looking for that, of course, but of course, what was really okay, I was looking for that and trying and within that, and then always doing what I could, reading, and if I had some money, I always spent it on that I saved. I always spent it on different kinds of therapies and so forth, But and at the same time, I have to say that life is the best therapist, and that what I got from a lot of the workshops that I spend a lot of money on was more like okay, I don't have to get into that, but it's more like, oh, I didn't need that. I thought this was going to get me what I wanted.
You had all the
But
answers within you? Is that what you found out, or
no, but that what I was looking for and what they were kind of like saying what this would provide didn't happen. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And so the awakening happened gradual, and then another I'm going to share now. I'm thinking about two more milestones. So here's the milestone, yes, about the self-hatred, right? So then I was, at some point, I was in a situation where I lived in a house and the person whose house that was, it turned out that I projected then that onto him. He was the perfect how should I say, screen to project that onto. I didn't have to even feel bad about it. Because he deserved it. He really did. And that, but the thing is, I was shown that way. And I was always, here's the thing, I was always kind to him, and I was always trying to, for us to be harmonious, because I had to live with him in that house. That's how the universe made it, and I wasn't standing in my truth. He was being truthful, the way he treated me. And but I was like just trying for him to be nice to me, so that I would have a better time. But at night I would have these dreams of actual dreams of killing him in 3,000 different ways.
Wow, you needed to move out, huh?
Oh my gosh. No, I was in the right place. This is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what happened was, how, okay, it showed me also how powerful the mind is, and with projection. And at some point, something gathers a momentum. And I was attacked in the middle of the day on the most safest street, yeah, by a woman who looked absolutely natural, like totally normal. And there was a moment, she was walking and almost was losing one of her bottles, water bottles, and she was carrying a lot. Anyways, so there was a moment where my intuition said, keep walking, but I didn't listen to that. And I said, can I help you? And then she attacked me and almost broke both of my wrists. So it was very painful. And I also felt from her, if she could have, she would have killed me. I mean, that was the energy. Yeah.
Mm.
And, but, so anyway, she didn't break my wrist. They were injured, but not broken, ripped, torn. And, don't want to get into detail of that, but I knew, because the soul was already there enough, the intuition, I knew this was my wake-up call. And I got that it was all that suppressed internal anger and self and hatred that I have not anymore, towards myself, that I was projecting out. And she personified that and brought that back to me like a boomerang.
Mm.
And so I knew, wake up call. I need to be responsible for my thoughts. And then that was the beginning of when I started to leave there. So that was very short before it was time for me to leave. And I also knew it's like full dedication to remembering who I am, and to remembering how to, or that I am lovable, and to love myself. And I realized that I didn't, that I, that I had come so far away, and that there was a lot of self-hatred. So I specifically, who helped me with this was Matt Kahn. And I listened to Matt Kahn, like hours and hours. And that really helped me. So,
So then did the
yeah.
depression start to leave at that point? Or when did the depression dissipate?
As everything else, super gradual. There was never a breakthrough or so. Super gradual, as the consciousness of the soul was waking up to that degree. All of this OCD, bipolar depression, and also heart closed, all of that, as you say, dissipate to that same degree. And so that was like the beginning of the next milestone, because when it was time to leave, I knew it was time to leave, but I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to go. That was always the thing. I don't have anything. I don't know what I'm doing here. It's like I'm nobody. And but this also fed, you can see it if you see it from the egoic mind, that's where the depression, that's that identity, that holds the depression. It's like, oh, I'm nobody. I don't have someone who, I don't have a relationship. I don't even have a passion or like a work that is meaningful. Oh, and by the way, since 2005, I couldn't work anymore. Since 2005, I was not able to work anymore. And also in the beginning, I thought, oh, that's, but what a gift that was. And I couldn't work anymore because of course it was time for me to stop putting my energy there. There was other things I needed to do. But what was it that made me crash so hard that I even, because here in Germany, you have to be like, from doctors, they have to witness or sign that you are not capable of working. So what was it that they all saw? They all said she can't work anymore. It was that in 2005, I think this was also in 2005, I removed all of my mercury fillings And I just recently learned that, because I wanted it out, right? I thought it was the best thing I could do. But I just recently learned that from Anthony William, the medical medium, it's better to leave it in, because it's more damage to take it out. And if you take it out, he says, do one per year. But I did 5 in 2 days. So,
Wow.
so my God, what that did for my nervous system, on top of everything else. But it's, see, this is how it is. You think it's something bad that happened or that you did, but then again, it's all divinely guided at the same time, Yeah. And this is why I want to share the next milestone with you, because that was like the biggest one that brought me to where I am today. And so I didn't know where to go. And I stayed at different, but I had to move away. So I stayed at different friends' houses. And then I was like my second friend's house, and she was gone for 2 weeks, and I didn't want to overstay my welcome, and I didn't know where to go after that, right? So here I am, like, okay, I have 2 weeks, and I don't know, and I did not have it in me to look for an apartment. I was so, the OCD and the bipolar was it was like at a culmination point. Yeah. And where it was running absolutely off the Richter scale. And that also was necessary. I'll share this. Because we think those are like the worst, when we're in it, we think this is the worst time, and this is really something very terrible happening to me. And looking back, it was what absolutely had to happen. It was my liberation. Even the woman, that I saw her later in the street, who attacked me. I was actually standing behind her in the grocery line. She was in front of me, like just one person between us. And I was able to say thank you. Just in my, just from my soul, I was able to say thank you. Yeah. And that was not mental. And that's really powerful. So that I could feel that, that was like really full circle. Yeah. And so this pressure of not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go, not having, however, knowing that I have to leave in 2 weeks, I'm not going to overstay my welcome here, and I didn't know where to go next, and at the same time, not having it in me to look for, okay, well, where am I going to go, like for an apartment, right? Because I would have to look for an apartment, and then, because of all of that pressure and and my condition, the bipolar OCD condition was coming to that point where I absolutely crashed, and I could not. It like stopped, because the mind couldn't turn it anymore. See, I'm going like this the whole time. The mind did not have the energy anymore. So it was trying to still come in, right? This fear, it was trying to come in, but I was just, all I was doing then was staring into space all day. It's just staring into space, and that's what I needed. And finally, there wasn't totally peace, because that was still kind of there, but that will come. And in this space, I got an email, and I didn't even remember that I had signed up for Ananta Kranti's newsletter email, and she's an awakened woman who holds intensives, and she was sharing or talking about, and there was a audio also, and she was sharing that she's now holding intensive 4-day intensives where it's all about stopping the mind. And I knew this is what I want. I don't care about I don't know what else, and all the money, again, I just had some saved little cushion that I thought I would need that in order to bring me to the next step. So apartment and move. Well, I just had a few boxes, but I thought I would need that for that. But I used it all just to go there because that was in Thailand on a little island.
Wow.
I used it to go there for these 4 days because I knew nothing else matters. It was like a moment between life and death, because I was already thinking about, since I can't find an apartment for myself, and I'm gonna have to. I was thinking that I'm gonna have to. What is it? Put myself into mental ward.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
because there was
Oh.
nothing else, and I don't want to be a burden to anybody else. So I thought, well, I might just have to go knock on the mental ward and say, will you take me? and
Oh, wow.
and so but it needed that pressure so that I would have the courage to put all my money and say, I'm going, and I don't know what's after that, but I'm going to this woman, to this
That's
intensive.
big courage. Big
Yeah,
courage.
I wouldn't have had it otherwise.
Mm.
And so that's what I did. That's what I did. And I arrived on the island, and so I slept one night. I didn't even go to, because I arrived, and then I went to bed. I hadn't even seen the beach, right? I hadn't even, and it was for me like, oh, finally, after so many years, I don't know, 15 years or something of not being in the ocean, I finally get to swim in the ocean again, And the next morning I'm driving to the beach, and I'm like, crashed in the road on the scooter.
Mm.
And I'm lying there broken on the road, and bleeding, and I'm lying there, and the woman comes. And this is also what happens. This is also how spirit will come to us. She came and she channeled. This was not coming from her, like, she came to me, she held my head in her hands, and she said, wait. It's always so touching to those moments when spirit touches us, our own soul. There's so much love there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she said, this is for you. This is for you. You created this because your heart had to be split open. So, that something like in those words she said, and I knew she was speaking like from my soul to me, and I knew it was absolutely, I knew this was it. And so I did go to the intensive. I will tell you in a moment. So instead of going in the ocean swimming, I was lying on the bed with and just walking. That's the only thing I could do, was walk to the bathroom, and to and it was excruciating pain. So I couldn't cook for myself. I couldn't shop, and I didn't know anyone there. But it was all that's I won't get into it, but that's a beautiful story in itself. How the help came to me is so beautiful. It was like all taken care of. And so and I was lying on the bed there, and looking up on a gray ceiling, and I'm thinking, okay, here I am finally in paradise. And here I'm lying now broken and I didn't know how long I would have to lie there, right? But it was took 4 weeks on the bed. I couldn't, at least
Oh,
four weeks.
wow.
So and I knew that it would be, and here I am lying. So there was still this part of this voice was still there, and this is the same place. This is the identified condition self, also where all the depression and that lives in that self. And yeah, it is where the soul is not awakened yet, where it's still asleep in this mind. Yeah, in this perspective of and that also is that perception, that feeling. And it was saying, oh, here you are lying on the bed looking at the ceiling, and you can't be out there. And that's when my soul, for the first time, that's when, because that broken on the road really did crack me open. And it was so funny that I always thought I needed to be cracked open.
Wow.
I always had that idea. So, but I thought I would get it in a workshop. And the soul was like, that this is exactly what you did. That's when the higher self speaking, the internal speaking that started coming through, where I could hear my soul's voice again. This is so much more valuable. This is exactly what you need, and you could not get that swimming out in the ocean and going to the dances there, spiritual dances. You could not get this. This is your gold right here, lying on this bed. And I knew it. And I had a calm inside of me that came through like I never had before. And that was the last really big milestone. And after that, it really, really, after that, the soul has been coming through, and now it is so now. I mean, when it shows up, these old programs, I can hold space for it. I can hold space for it, and it's very short. Yeah.
So, wow, that's quite the journey. Quite the journey. So, what you're unable to work, and you're in Thailand. You left Thailand.
Well, wait a
Where
minute.
did you,
When I say unable to work, I mean because I have, I am working. It's not working in that sense. I can't do out there a job. I can't be in that world anymore.
right?
That's it.
So what did you create for yourself coming out of that?
You mean after Thailand?
Yeah, after Thailand, and just because I know you do some channeling. Do you do
Higher
channeling?
self. Yeah, I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
call it soul streaming, channeling.
You
I
do
mean,
artwork.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So how did all of that come to be and unfold for
Yes,
you?
yes. So one little more thing about how the universe works, right? So remember, I said before I went to Thailand, I didn't have a place to stay, and I didn't know what would happen afterwards. Days before I left for Thailand, um, through my sister, my sister's friend had this apartment, and she was looking for because she was leaving, so she was looking for another what is it, like someone who came after her, right, into this apartment. And my sister told me, hey, there's an apartment there. We went to look at it, and it's like it fell in my lap. And that's what I want to say. The universe brought me this apartment, and I knew this is where I'm meant to be. That's why I'm here in this area. I mean, also my mother lives here, so it was perfect. Even though it's like this area is one of the densest places on earth. And but to then know that, oh, I had a place to come to after time, it was all taken care of. And so then the really, I mean, I was already since 2005 on the inner journey, always reading and walking in nature, and just like focused on my own awakening, healing. Yeah, but when I then came here, I really had my own space for the first time, and all the time, and then it started with this, with my I have to sit in meditation. And when I would feel bad, that's really what brought it forth, was that every time I would be back in suffering. I would sit with that suffering, and then I would start talking to myself, and that didn't come from the, obviously not. I would start talk to my, just the way that it came through when I was lying on the bed. I was from this place of, yeah, my soul. So I that's the channeling where I noticed, or how should I say, I just started, and I called it in. I call in my soul. I open my channel, and then in this meditative, it's like a different state of mind. Wisdom, higher frequency would come through, and that's when also the light language actually started. There was one more station before Thailand. The first station that I went to after that situation, yeah, that I said before, the first place I went to was actually Glastonbury. And when I for the first time, and it was calling me, I've been wanting to go there for a long time. I didn't know why, but it's a place where, and I didn't know this until I was there, but Yeshua was there, and Mary Magdalene was there, and they have offspring. The bloodline goes there, and the first time I walked up the Tor, there's the Tor and the Chalice Well. Do you know this?
No.
No. Oh, okay. So on top of the Tor is where the Druids used to have the initiation, the initiation altar for the priests and priestesses. And so this was very special for me to walk up this for the first time. And I took my shoes off and I walked up barefoot, and then very, very slowly. And then I just started singing in a language that never happened before. And that was when the light language, and I didn't know what it was, never heard of light language or so, but that's when the light language in me was born. And so I would go back to that. And as I was sitting here in the meditation and in the bringing through my soul, and allowing my soul to speak that truth to me, that's also when the light language came through more and more. And I could feel, in the beginning, it was like, oh, I'm just making this all up. And I still hadn't heard of light language. And then hearing other people speak light language, that's when I became reflected back, like, oh, okay, this is really something. Oh, not only that, but also because when I did it more and more, of course, this is the thing, when we speak like light language, or when that comes through, that it has, even though the mind doesn't understand what it is, it has code. It unlocks the soul, and I could feel it, and I could feel energetically, this is big, this is strong, this is powerful, so I kept doing that. And not that I do it, it's like it comes on its own. Yeah, it's like something that just through the intuition, yeah, from the soul, I can say that now. But it took a while. It took a while to get over that, the reaction of the conditioned mind to it, and with the I don't know if you can see. Oh, it's on my Facebook page. The art you mentioned the art, and that was
Mm-hmm.
one morning I woke up and I just saw what I wanted to do, and it all came together, like, and I knew how to do it, and that's and it's this urge to be creative, and it's this urge to, just like with the light language, almost it comes through, wants to be there, not urge, but it wants to be expressed, and it's not something that makes sense. It has nothing to do with making sense. But even though now I can actually even make sense of it, because it's so healing,
Yeah.
it's unlocking us. It's like our own medicine that we give, it's just about allowing. Allowing that.
Beautiful. So what are some of your messages that you receive? Like what are some of the most recent messages that you've received through your higher self?
I'm just really touched by you. You're very sweet.
Oh,
Yeah, by your heart, It's so beautiful to feel that. Feel the space that you open up for me.
I am happy to do so, my dear.
Yeah, I know that I cannot think about this now from my mind, so I have to see what comes through to this beautiful question. Because I said, for the purpose of the highest good of all, for the purpose of the awakening of soul, of our true selves, is this conversation, Like to my higher self, I said, guide me. So what was the latest? You said the latest message.
Yeah, or maybe even a message that you feel is important for humanity at this point in time.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. It's whatever you
Yes.
feel like sharing.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, no, that's really good. That's really good. For humanity at this point in time is that there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. That's really what always comes through. And is when I would feel any kind of worry or anxiety, I go within, and they show me. They show me. Okay, wait. Yeah, it's kind of like, when we look at the world, it looks like it's going to hell in a handbasket. And 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 it depends on our own, how much division from our soul we hold inside, how we see things. And this is not just how we see things, but this is also what's going to show up in our lives. And so the division that we have inside will show up in our lives, in order so that we can recognize it. And it's about feeling that division. It will trigger that division, that pain, that fear, so that we can, because that's all it wants, is just to be felt. And in that feeling, which is, we can't do both. We can't be in the physical, like in the actual emotion, physical, being present with that. We can't be present with that and at the same time project. The projection is when we're not feeling. So that is our energy, right? That's our energy, and we project it out, and that's what keeps it in the loop. So it's like a constant confirmation. Yes, yes, yes. So yes, there you don't feel the fear, you're not present with it, then it's going to be yes, there's a reason to be afraid because you're in that you're that's the prison. That's the prison of mind, but it's also then when you feel like you're in prison in your life. And that's how we open that up and come out of the prison, is to whenever negative emotion arises, to sit with that and know that this is always the opportunity to dissolve. And we take that so negative emotion dissolves, and what's left is neutral. It's our soul energy that's locked in that. That's why it's negative, because we hold it apart from ourselves because it doesn't feel good. And there's something we believe in our minds that keeps it that way. But when we know that it's it's really about getting to know your soul, and when you sit with your feelings, the negative emotion, and it dissolves. You can feel that it expands, and there's relaxation, and you can actually feel your soul. It's cool. It's cooling. It's light. Yes.
Yeah. Because a lot of people like to bypass those feelings and not feel them.
Because that's how we're conditioned.
That's how we just stuff them down, and they're still going to keep coming back even stronger next time.
Yeah.
So that's very good. Good. What else? What things do you have going on now that you would want to share with everybody today? Do you have any offerings going on? Are you doing anything?
It's
special?
all on that the offering is on my channel.
Okay.
On my channel. And these are, I'm just now beginning to get to that point where, I mean, it's still, just the last days were so challenging. It was like yesterday, because today is actually my Chiron return. And so yesterday, that wound, it's like the greatest wound in your life, right? It was it culminated, and yesterday broke open. It's so intense, yes, but no, it's not. Look at I sat with it, and already now I'm lighter, and I'm sitting here with you, and it can't pull me down anymore, because I know what it is. I recognize it. I know what it is. I can hold. I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm not that I don't feel that intense what is sadness, or what it is, whatever it is. I feel it so intense, but always comes back very quickly to the light, because there's now the ability to hold that, and to know, and this knowing, I always say this knowing, it's enough if you're in a completely dark room and you don't see the light at all. It's enough to poke with a needle in that room. You can see the light. And once that happens, it can never be undone. And that means that you are soul, that you are immortal, and that's your true self. That's your true self. And all the suffering is based on this conditioned identity. That's where all the suffering is. The soul isn't suffering.
The soul is here to have a human experience.
and to expand through it,
Yes.
and of course then there's, we are in this great story, and this is what I just wanted to say, is that now I feel like it's beginning to get good.
Yeah.
It's beginning to get fun, and I'm starting to play again, actually, a lot, like a lot that is starting to come in now. And so it was so timely when I was doing, and this play is the code that has come in, and I've already shared 3 installments of it. And what this code is I just call it code because it's code decode. It's like a kind of this is the image when Neo in the Matrix, when he doesn't see the agents anymore that are out to get him, and trying to running away from the agents. He sees the code. So it's like, I mean, it was all throughout my life. And I guess, we all have these moments when the universe is speaking to you. Like when you see, when this repeated, like you don't look at the clock, but the moment you do glance at it, it's 11:11, or whatever number has a meaning to you, and that's repeated so many times, or whatever it is that you see that is a symbol, and in that moment, oh wow, that's the universe speaking to me, and your soul speaking to you, your higher self, God speaking to you. And this is what's happening now, is that the realization, it's all alive and we're not separate from it, and it's constantly speaking to us. And so this has been opening up so much for me in the past, like two months, and it's coming through, and I'm connecting the dots, and I'm sharing it, and it's so much fun, it's so playful, and it's so amazing. And then to see others, like for example Elsa Dillon, who I also met over Todd, and I met you over Todd, and just she's also sharing code, and it's this dovetailing, and what she's saying is showing up here in a different way, and it's this, yeah, and it's so much fun. And also the last 2 talks that you had, with Cooley and with Andina, there was code also,
It's fun.
messages, and yes, so that's that. It's starting to get fun, it's starting to really open up that way. And the thing is that when because we create this whole reality with our minds, it's a reflection of our mind. And so when the mind opens up, it comes in more and more, we see this more and more, and then we start to see, like a couple weeks ago, there was a whole fleet of UFOs, but of course not physical yet, but in the clouds I can see them, and in the beginning it may be subtle, but I made the commitment. First of all, now I know when it's code. I know when somebody says something, I hear something, I see something, I know the moment it's code for me, the message. And in if you're like, the conditioned mind is always gonna, that's nothing, you're just, this always going to dismiss that. But I now, like, at some point I said, I'm giving 100% commitment to that. I'm writing it all down. Nothing is too small. I'm writing it all down. It's like I'm honoring every single sign that I'm getting. And so to see this fleet around my house, all kinds of different shapes of the UFOs, and I know that, okay, somebody else might just see clouds. I know it's a ship. I can see the ship in that. And I know
Yeah.
that the more that we open up, it will get more and more clear too.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Oh, I so appreciate you sharing today. You're so authentic and vulnerable and sweet, and I so enjoyed having you on, Leave.
Oh, thank you so much. It was very, very beautiful.
Yes, thank you. And thank you everybody for watching today. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.